I've just been overwhelmed at how many questions have come through about this project I'm working on. And so I thought I'd just take a few minutes and address all of this and what brought it about and some thoughts I have on things. My mother had sent me a link to an article talking about how during this time of during this pandemic and this lockdown and shelter at home, that people are picking up, more and more people are picking up hobbies, crafts. There's been like a resurgence in it, and I'm seeing that. The days that run in together, and I find myself finding comfort in handcrafts, sewing, crocheting, knitting, and my friend Jen, she said it's because when you're doing that, you have control over the situation, because in every other aspect of our lives right now, we don't have any control in a lot of ways. So, but what brought me to this project is I was thinking back this morning of the sequence of events over the years, and I guess it began back in the 80s when everything was Make Mine Country, and there was Country Living magazine. I would get those magazines and just pour over them. And at the time I was living in Orlando in a ranch house, and it was anything but country, and there was no Queen Anne's lace out in the backyard, and I just wanted to live out somewhere where I could go and pick Queen Anne's lace and put it in a mason jar. And so my granddaddy pulled in one afternoon, and in the back of his truck, it was even face down, just the plain side was showing up. And I said, what is that? What is that in the back of the truck? He said, oh, it's just an old quilt. It was your grandma's. I'm like, I want it. So he gave me this quilt. I have dragged it around everywhere. It was a tablecloth on our table the kids would eat at. It's been on the porch swing. It's been on the bed. It's been everywhere. And it's just something that I know just that my grandma had this. So I've treasured it. Well then, and I thought I would love to be able to make a quilt someday, but of course, we say things and then we don't ever pursue it. And so then I started buying quilts. And when I found this pattern, Grandma's Flower Garden, I just loved everything about it. And when I began teaching school, it was before I got the quilts, I would get quilt calendars, and I would cut them out, and I would use them to teach geometry, and I'd give the students graph paper and pattern blocks, and I'd say, create a quilt. Your grandparents were creating quilts. Your grandmothers were doing geometry with those quilts. They didn't realize how much geometry they were doing with their hexagons and their, all the shapes. So I used it in my class. Then I started collecting as I would find them. And even on my storybook sofa upstairs, there's the Grandma's Flower Garden quilt. So when I went to write, I couldn't make a quilt, but I could illustrate one. And so when I was writing this little book, when we went to Martha's Vineyard, and at that point, this was the 11th book I had written. Up at that point, there were 10. I drew this, and my purpose was to put in the fabrics all the things that were, all the little elements of each of the books. Like for Christmas, there was the holly leaves. Where their nests were? I had one they were little nests. Here they are. Oh wait, there's little nests, and then there was lavender from the royal wedding, and little pumpkins, and little Chinese lanterns from when we were at Martha's Vineyard at Grand Illumination. So that was, I thought, well, I can't sew a quilt, but I can illustrate, and I could just do all the little tiny stitches because I loved hand-stitched quilts. The worn and loved, as Jen uses that term a lot, Jen O'Connor, that we work and we talk all the time and we share things, and that worn and loved. And so when we were in Vermont, it was the summer after I'd gone, it was the summer I had gone to Martha's Vineyard for book signings. That fall, my husband and I went to Vermont to to visit Tasha Tudor's cottage and her cottage gardens. We did that tour, and we visited a quilt shop there, Norton's Quilt Shop, and that's where I purchased these papers. So these little EPP papers, English, and I never clicked. It's like, is it English paper piecing or English paper piercing? And from what I'm learning as I'm delving into, as I'm scurrying down the rabbit hole of EPP, that they used to pierce, I think, a little bit the paper. But anyway, it stayed in the package for 3 years or 4 years. I didn't pull it out till a few years ago. Now, how many videos or pictures have y'all seen me take where I had 3 flowers from this, and I would show them, I think, I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but aren't they cute? Well, the other night, I was laying in bed, and it was late, and I was going to search for something, and I saw this, you know, when you go to that search on Instagram, you'll see all these little videos or IGTV or posts. You like this, if you like this, you like this. And there was a video in motion, an IGTV episode series from The Strawberry Thief. And she's a distributor for Liberty of London Fabrics in Australia. Well, I started watching her videos, then one after the other. And it was like, I mean, I had stopped the project because it was labor intensive, and it was a lot of, I was basting around the fabric. And this is another reason I want to show y'all, because I've had so many questions. What is that? How do you take the papers out? What do you do with those? How do you do that? How do you make the edges so crisp? So you wrap. It's a whole process. She can teach it better. So I'm just gonna point you to her direction. But I'm gonna give you just a little overview. Anyway, so I had these papers, and so when I had stopped, because I was basting. I had to pick up. Think what I was. Where did I chase after? Baste from one corner to the next to hold your paper down around, and then do like a little thumb press as you go around. Makes it like, really nice little crease. Well, that was labor intensive, so I just put it all away. When I saw her and her technique and the tools that she was using, it was like, well, that looks like something I could do, and it wouldn't be excruciating. And so I went digging around, and pulled out my 3 flowers, and I pulled out my stash of fabrics. I had some Tilda fabric and cabbage and roses by Moda fabric, and I had some leftover Liberty of London, the Alice in Wonderland fabric that I had made a little Easter dress for little Sophia when she was 4. So yeah, there's memories, of course, tied up in some of these things, of course. I also found the scissors that she was using, the brand. It was Karen K. Buckner. Hold on. And it's even minuscule. Yes, Karen K. Buckley. Okay. So I had some of those scissors. And then I thought, she suggested 10 millimeter or size 10 milliner's needles. Well, I looked at mine, I thought, that may not be a milliner's needle, but it looks close, and it was doing the job, doing the trick. Then she said, if you'll use this glue pen, and she said, we don't want to use school glue. Well, of course, I ordered the glue pen, but I can't wait because I'm impatient. So I think, okay, this is my practice project, because we don't know if the glue in a school glue or office glue, if it's archival, if it can hold up, we don't know. But I'm gonna get it wrong. The glue pen that I might link it down here below. But it's the Sew Line, S-E-W, the Sew Line glue pen. I think that's it. So I've ordered it, it's coming. It just, the way she demonstrated it, I'm like, well, that takes out so much of work. I can sit on the sofa. I can have my cute little tin of all my fabrics. I have this little thing with my thimble, so I have to use a thimble. It's wearing out my finger. had my thimble, and I had thread, cotton thread, which is what she said to use. I've ordered some Aurifil because she recommends Aurifil, so I want to try that. I ordered some bigger scissors so that because I've been snipping out my little squares with these, and it's a little tedious. So I ordered the next size up. And I've ordered more papers because I'm having to, like, as I sew around, I'll sew around, take out a paper, cover it. I can't get enough made up at a time because I only had a certain amount of papers. So I've ordered, more papers are coming. And then I can do it the right way, where you get your stack of your fabric covered papers, and then you can make your flowers and have a stack of flowers, and then you can eventually, stitch them all together. But she gave all these tricks and tips on how to finish each seam, the corner, so that they stay. I'm running at 10 minutes and I don't want to take much longer. I just wanted you to know that if you've started a project and you stopped because it was, you thought, I can't do this, is too much, give it a little bit. There's new tools that come out, there's new tricks. If I had stopped, when I thought I tried knitting, okay, I'm going to tell you this story. I wanted to knit. Well, I thought if I just went to the cute knit shop and bought some cute scissors and some bamboo needles and some pretty yarn, it was a mossy green and a pretty lavender, and a book, that I could just go home and figure it out. And I got so frustrated with it, and I put it away, and that was in 2010. And I didn't know that the next year was when I would discover Tasha Tudor and find a little shawl that I had to have, and I had to learn how to knit. And then I had the want to that I needed to do a project. So maybe you didn't have the want to when you started something before, and maybe you have the want to now, and you're thinking, well, that was a bad experience. Don't let that hold you back. Maybe you go dig in your sewing basket and find the project that you started, too long ago, and try it again. You have new energy, you're in a different place, you have more time, all the factors can change. So that was my main point of this, was to go back to it, the thing that you thought you might want to do, and don't be afraid to give it a go. And so I'm excited, and as always, I do something with my hands, working with my hands. Not only does it bring a sense of joy and peace and those endorphins, it also gets all of my creative juices going. So this may look like I'm not working, but this is my work, my creative work, that springboards me into the new projects, and it's my thinking time, and it's the stories are coming, and how I want to do illustrations, and projects I want to do, and the toys I want to make, and the things the accessories, all this feeds into all of that. So, and yesterday, Tim took Sophia to see her great grandma, and she asked her, well, what's Christy doing? Sophia said, she's been in her pajamas all day. And I thought, I'd been quilting all day, we had made paper dolls, we had done things, but because I didn't have clothes on, it didn't count. So I guess if I put on clothes, then if I sit on the sofa all day, it won't matter because I have clothes on. Anyway, y'all, we're getting through it. Pick up some handcrafts, get your endorphins going and the joy back, and have fun. And if you have any questions about this, go to the Strawberry Thief on Instagram and watch her IGTV series. Sometimes it's just hearing somebody's voice that clicks with you. Somebody else could tell you the same thing, and you're like, but that voice, that certain voice that, like, I could do this, they inspire. I think you'll love it. I'll talk to you later. Let me know what you think.